In the previous lesson, we created a chatbot that used the generate function in Cohere, and then you ask a question and it gives you the answer. Today I'm going to tell you, or right now I'm going to tell you why that was wrong. Let's run it again. So generate.py, so you're going to say, what is the capital of France? And then it's going to say Paris, the capital, the French Republic. Okay, so I'll be like, what can I do there? Do you mean a place or something specific or general place would like to explore? So it forgot that I asked this question about Paris. That's not natural of a conversation, right? Like imagine talking to someone and they forget your name and then you have to kind of introduce yourself. So LLMs have this problem of state. State has to be managed separately. So LLM is just this box where you put in an input and it gives you the output. So every time you add a new input, it gives you a new output. So it basically is this function where you put in an input and it gives you an output. So the input that you're adding is completely independent of what you asked previously. So one of the ways that you can do is basically take that input, patch all the previous inputs that you had, and put that into the chatbot. So I'm going to run this for you, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So Control C. All right, clear. So now we're going to run this Python 3 called Stateful chat. So now when I ask what is the capital of France, it's going to say Paris, and what is the size of it? Let's see. The size of the capital of France, Paris, is around 126 kilometers square. So it remembered. How did it remember? So let's go to the code here. You can see this. This is the initializing of the conversation. It's a random string. And whenever I asked it the conversation, this is still a generate function, I basically pass in all the conversation that I had previously. And basically what I'm doing is I'm updating that conversation based on what I had said previously and putting that into the LLM. This basically allows you to manage state in some way. You can keep that conversation going for as long as you want, but that would kind of get worse as the context or the amount of input that's going in changes. So let's look at what we're doing here. So all of that other stuff like before, so you have the Cohere client, but we initialized a conversation, and we basically updated that conversation every time you're running the code. So when the next time the code happens, it's going to include that into the conversation. That's how it's able to be stateful. So we talked about state management in this case. This is kind of complicated because you have to do it yourself, but there is a better way, which Cohere provides, and it's this function called chat. So chat, instead of having a prompt, it has messages because it needs to know what happened before. So if you look at this messages object, it's an array with these JSON-like structures, and you have the user content. It's hello. So I said basically the user said hello, and the assistant basically replied. So you're going to get that message and append it every time you're going to have that conversation. So let's go back to the terminal. So Command J it is. And I'm going to clear all of this. And let's kind of run Python 3 and state management. All right, there we go. So I'm going to say, what is the capital of France? By the time you're going to know everything about Paris, we're done. All right. So, the capital of France is Paris. What is the good thing to do there? Okay. Visit the Eiffel Tower. Okay. Cool. What is the best food there? Oh, no. Any wars that happened? What were the wars that involved? Paris is pronounced Paris, mesdames et messieurs. All right. Several significant conflicts throughout history. The French Revolution. Here you're noticing one thing. Here basically it cuts off because we kind of added this thing called a max token, which is how many tokens they're going to be. So think of them as words. Token is not a word, but it's kind of like a chunk of text. So so yeah. So here you can add a little bit more. So every time. So with this, every time we add the messages, we basically append. So append basically meaning taking that message array and then appending whatever it was said by the person. My apologies. Here it's the person, and here it's what the message was. So when you pass that back to Cohere, the Cohere manages the state on itself. It knows what the question was, who is whom, which is kind of challenging in the first one, right? Because you didn't tell who was asking what question and what was the answers. So this is built-in state management for you. So this is a little bit about state. This is going to get really complicated as we go along because state is going to be the internet. It's going to be 100,000 files. So we'll talk about rags and kind of other things that you can use to help you build more robust systems. So this is me, and I will see you in the next one. Au revoir, à bientôt. Bon voyage à Paris.